Okay, we're going to be installing the Kerma front mount intercooler on this 2004 BEW. Just kind of want to go over some of the basics. You're going to want to pull the front bumper cover off. Very easy to do. You've got about 4 bolts that go through the inside of the fender liner into the bumper on the sides, and then you've got one inside each one of these side grills, and then you've got the one up top on each side, and then 3 across the bottom here, and then that should pull out, and then all you'll have left hooking it together is the wires for the turn signals. So we'll start doing that. It's pretty easy to pull this grill out. You can see you just kind of got to be a little careful, but you pop these sides out. Sometimes it helps if you got a little screwdriver. You can just pull that out a little bit in order to get in there. And then at this time we're also going to be replacing the stock plastic hood latch here lever with a billet Kerma hood lever. I like to do that on every one of the Volkswagens I purchase, just because these things are so fragile and they bust, the clips break, and then it's fun getting the hood open. But also makes a nice clean engine bay look. Goes good with like the catch can and some other billet parts that Kerma makes. Now that we got that grill popped out, I'll show you. So you've got a clip that on the grill that goes in right here, and then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clips along there, and these clips have a little groove to them, so you gotta pull them forward in order to get that thing moved around. And then there is one last clip right here that goes in, so you've got to push down on that a little and it'll pop right off. And you'll need a T30 Torx in order to get these bolts off, and the other 2 down in the bumper grills. And these bumper grills are just clipped in, so they're easy to pull off. And these sides use a T25 Torx, and there are 4 bolts. You can see 1, 2, 3. You can't see very well. 3, and then there's 4. Most of these fender wells are actually cracked as well and busted up. Every car I've ever seen has had it all busted up, so you might want to think about replacing that at the same time. So we got all the side screws taken out of the inside fender wells, and now I just wanted to show you, if you can't really see that, but there you go. There's that little tab there. This is where the last 2 T30s are, one on both sides. So you pull those off, and then the bumper will slide forward. Before we pull this bumper off, I forgot to mention, if you do have the factory skid plates still on there, there are about 6 screws going across the front valence, and then 2 on the sides that will be holding that in place. So you have to take all those off in order to pull the front bumper off, and you'll see those from underneath. This car did not have a skid plate on it, so we're planning on putting the Evolution skid plate right there on the car, and these are really beefy skid plates, as you can see here. So hopefully we don't damage any oil pans down the road. Okay, so you can see I pulled the bumper forward, bumper cover. You can see where it latches in on these 2 spots, and then you've got your turn signals. These usually are fairly easy to pull out. Just kind of wiggle it back and forth, and you can get that light to come out, and then it'll pop out. Or The other route is to pull the whole lens off, which is easy. You just push in and then slide it forward. It's a lot easier if you got two hands. You slide it forward, and then that way you can pop it through the inside there. Now that we have the bumper cover off, you'll have access to the side mount intercooler there. Be able to pull the bracket off. You'll pull that front bumper foam off the car. That just slips right off, and then the actual bumper bar behind that foam. There's just, you can see right here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts on the bumper bar to be able to pull that off on each side, and then you've got the 2 in the center right there that the intercooler is going to mount back up to. Okay, the next step is going to be to pull this passenger side headlight out. You'll use the T25 Torx again. You got 1, 2, and then there's 1 underneath. 3 bolts that you're going to be able to have to pull off, and then unclip it from the back side there, and that will slide out, give you good access to be able to get to those clips on the upper intercooler plumbing down there. There's actually 4 T25 Torx on this. You know, 2 on the bottom, and then the 2 up top. Okay, now that we got the headlight out, you'll see here that the BW style clip fittings are quite a bit different than the ALH style fittings. The ALH are a spring style clip, and these are completely different. Okay, so now we're under the car. Right here you can see the S7 turbo outlet. I got to put the adapter on there, and then we've got a gap, and then you can see the end of the pancake pipe, stock pancake pipe, and that 10mm nut over there. You'll be pulling the 10mm nut off, and then that's where the new Kerma lower pancake pipe will bolt up, and then up where the bracket is that we took off for the side mount intercooler is the other spot where the lower intercooler plumbing will bolt on. So you got 2 spots that one will bolt onto. The bottom of the turbo, and there you go. You got the adapter to 2-inch in order to work with the front mount intercooler. It's all 2-inch plumbing. If you have the 1.75-inch adapter or the 1.25-inch adapter, you will need to replace those at this time. To get that bumper bracket off, I like to fit the intercooler core, and you can see right here I use the stock T25 Torx, and you slip it in between the upper rad support so it's hanging on there and the bracket there, and then tighten those down. Beware not to over tighten them. If you strip this out, then there's nothing to hold your intercooler core in place. Okay, so we got our top hose in place. Use the channel locks to crimp that stock connector there. And then down here at this end, you see how it bends down, points down. Then you'll be putting your 90-degree hose on the end there. We'll get that connected, and then we'll get the U-tube hooked up, and then we'll pull this front bumper bracket off and put the stock or the upgraded front mount intercooler on there. Okay, now we've got the upper pipe in, our 90, and the 90 actually gets pushed down a little bit in order to fit. We had to do it like this so that the front bumper would actually clearance the tubing and not be pushed out. So what I like to do is to get this side tube into the hump tube as far as you can. Kind of loosely tighten down these clamps before you put the bumper bracket on, and then you can kind of pivot this in order to get it to slip into there. And this upper hose or upper tube, it will push up a little and push on an angle over. But if you're running that stock upper hose, then you're good to go. So you shouldn't have any problems there. And the mass airflows, or not mass airflow, map. That's not it. Where'd it go? You'll need that adapter, like I was saying, in order to run a 3-bar on here. So we got the 3-bar in place, but we need the adapter in order to make it work. One thing that I did want to bring up here is when you take that front stock bumper bracket off, this radiator support actually sags down a little. And so when you go back to install this, you may think that some of the holes are off on this new bumper bracket, but in reality they're not. What you might need to do is pull up on this bumper or this radiator support in order to get those bolts in place. What I like to do is pull up on that, and then you get the top ones in place on both sides before tightening down the bigger bolts into the front frame horns, and that'll set it in place, and then the bottom ones will line right up and you can use the new bolts for the bottom ones. Okay, we're now over to the driver's side of the car. You've got the other U-shaped pipe. It's got a bracket welded on the back side here. You can see where that bracket goes, where the horns mount. So the top horn, you just undo this top bolt here and flip this horn upside so that it's on the top, so that that pipe can go up in place there. And then loosen up that bolt there, pull it out, slip it through, tighten it back up so it's holding the horns and the side of the intercooler bracket there. Real easy to do. Just need a 13mm wrench. Just like that there. Get your bottom horn, your top one, and it's pointing back at an angle a little bit. And then next step gonna be, if you're keeping these side plastic pieces that cover the engine bay, you're gonna need to trim that section right there. You can do that with like an angle die grinder or a Dremel, but typically what we like to do is just replace these either with the Evolution skid plate, which we're going to be putting on this car, and it's got 2 side brackets that come over right here. So I'll show you that when we're done here. Then I like to slide the U pipe here with the long end all the way into the hump hose, so that that joiner section, or the rolled section on the pipe, sits inside there, and then you can go ahead and put that top section into the 90. And usually you can do that just by taking right here and just pushing the 90 over, and it'll slip right on. Once that's on, then you can tighten down the clamp there, tighten down the clamp down here, and the whole top section is put together. It sits nice and flush in between the power steering reservoir and your timing belt cover. And then get to move on to the other side. Okay, so I got everything mocked up now. You'll notice here that if you want to run your factory stock plastic side covers for the engine bay. And you're going to have to go in, you're going to have to recess this section right here so that the pipe can slip up inside of that. We're going to use an angle die grinder to be able to do that with just a cutting blade, and then that will pull up and you'll be able to get that last bracket on. That's a 10mm nut there. And then come over to this side. You can see this is where, I can zoom out here, you got the horseshoe bend, hooks up to the horn bracket, and then got our long straight piece of silicone that goes into that long straight piece of stainless that runs across the bottom there. And so you shouldn't have to really recess this side too much. We're just going to delete this side. We've got some Diesel Geek Panzer plate side covers that we're going to put on here, and then we'll have to do a little bit of trimming of those to make them fit. But this does fit very well with the Evolution skid plate. The skid plate sits right underneath that front stainless bar there, or stainless tubing for the intercooler kit. We did notice that you have to put about 2 washers in between the plate and the brackets on the front in order to just push that down just a little, but fits very well. Good luck. So here's our Kermatdi 3-bar map adapter. It just slips right in there. It helps if you lube that O-ring up a little bit, but you want to kind of twist it while you're putting it in. There you go. And then find the right bolts I got for that. Okay, so showing you that 3-bar adapter, you can see it just goes right between the 3-bar map and the intercooler plumbing there. I had to use these hex head bolts because I lost the Allen bolts that came with the kit. But yeah, so if you end up losing your Allens, you're going to have to use a 10mm and some hex heads. Other than that, you can see everything in the kit fits very well. Yeah, I just got to make sure all the clamps are tight. And then I'm going to go take it for a test drive. So I wanted to show you the connection on the turbo here. So I've got the 2-inch adapter. Comes right out of the turbo. You can see the circlip there. And then there's about a 5-inch section of straight pipe there. And it goes down into the pancake pipe plumbing for the front mount intercooler. You see there is a little bit of flex in that because the frame rail doesn't line up perfectly with that turbo outlet. So it's good that that section there is a little bit longer of silicone to allow flexibility as the motor moves. Okay, we got the kit installed. Gonna take it for a drive real quick, make sure that I don't have any boost leaks. Then I'll come back and throw the bumper on, but you can see it looks pretty mean. I'm real excited about the fitment. I ran some other front mount intercoolers and they haven't fit nearly as well. Hopefully that tucks up in the bumper right there. Like a puzzle.